I probably came up with the idea in 2006. And I remember I was mowing my lawn, and this idea came to me for a much more immersive experience where your whole experience is driven through your avatar, and that your avatar, travels and collects things, which was not, at that time, that was kind of a newish concept. Since then we've had, many hundreds of millions of kids come through the site, and they spend an average of, I think, about 27 minutes on per session on the site. My first idea for Poptropica was that you would be a person who would live in an apartment, and that you could collect things and bring them back to your apartment. And we've seen that model in lots of games like Animal Crossing, and there are many virtual worlds that follow that model. But this was right around the time that kids started to carry around iPods, and there was that feeling that a kid carries their content with them. And so we took that central mechanic of the game is that your character doesn't actually have a home. Your character travels and brings everything with them. And that's very liberating, because then you don't have a geographic challenge. If you had to keep going back to your house or apartment, you would be limited in a way as far as how far afield you could go. And so the idea now is that the character just island hops. Actually, at the time, we were going to call the game Poptropolis, and right before we were ready to launch, Nickelodeon came out with their own virtual world, and they called it Nicktropolis, and we realized it was just too close. So then we thought about it for a while, and we came up with the idea of Poptropica. And that at that time we were thinking of independent cities or independent rooms, but that shifted us into independent islands, and that's worked really well for us. Actually, Poptropica was my natural career path. It doesn't really have anything to do with Wimpy Kid in some ways. I worked for newspapers, then started working as a webmaster was the title at the time, webmaster, and then I started to write my own games. Started working for Pearson, and all the while I was working on my comics at night, but they didn't have anything to do with one another. It's gender neutral, which is great. I think that, in fact, historically, our traffic breakdown has always been 50% boys, 50% girls, which I think is something that's hard to achieve. I think that each island has its own set of rules, its own universe. By not being overly thematic, or by not creating one set of rules for the universe, I think it gives our kids a chance to experience all sorts of different things, and that's fun and freeing. Some of the stories we've told, I can't believe we've gotten away with. I think the most exotic story or esoteric story we've told is we have an island called Mystery Train, where you're traveling in the late 1800s on a train from Washington, D.C. to the Chicago World's Fair, and you meet Nikola Tesla and Gustav Eiffel and all of these luminaries from that time. And I thought, I kind of held my breath. I didn't think kids would like it. It's one of our most popular islands, because I think it's authentic and sort of rich. I used to actually be a computer programmer. I'd write the code myself, and I was a designer. I created the character model for Poptropica, and then established the style guidelines. And then we hired people who were more talented and more prolific than I am. And they do all that work, the development and the design. and I do I do the writing. I work with a partner within the company, and we set the editorial slate, and then we write the specific islands. And we've switched just recently to an episodic model, where we used to launch 2-hour experiences every 3 months. Now we're releasing a 20-minute experience every 2 weeks. So we've really changed. This is partially a response to mobile. Mobile has been very disruptive for us. We've been a web-based property, and now mobile is kids are moving over to their devices. And we need to publish more frequently to keep the excitement going on the site. We've always had a mixed model of advertising and membership offering. You have to enter an island through Main Street, and on Main Street there's always an advertiser's experience, and the advertiser's experience, it's in the same language as the gameplay experience. So a kid will go on a quest set by an advertiser, and then we have a membership offering, which is sort of an all-you-can-eat membership offering, where you get all sorts of costumes and powers, and you also get to play the islands a few weeks before the non-members do. We never wanted to set a membership gate out at the beginning. We want to publish to the largest audience possible. I do. I think that it can be very disruptive as technology changes, but what we feel confident about is that whatever the technology of the day is, there's always going to be a need for good content. And we think we've got good writing, good art, good character design. We think we do something that's not superficial. There's some depth and some richness to our storytelling. So we're very hopeful that that Poptropica will carry on for decades in different forms. Henry Ford, he said that if we give people what they want, they'd ask for faster horses, and I think that's how we feel about our product, is that we're not really that interested in focus groups or asking kids what they want. We're trying to anticipate what kids will want, and I think that we've been successful at that. When we first started Poptropica, the web was really full of very superficial, quick play games, and we wanted to create something where you had to play for hours. So that was very counterintuitive, and I think that there's an appetite for that on the web, on mobile, where you'll pick up an adventure where you left off, and that will be more fulfilling than a few minutes of Candy Crush or something like that. So I'm hopeful that we can create something that is not really there right now. I think some of the best storytelling being done is in video games today. I think that if you look at games like even Grand Theft Auto, or some of these more adult titles, that the storytelling is actually very, very rich, and that's why the money being taken in by these big platform titles exceeds what movies make sometimes. So I think that in general, I think that kids are expecting, or kids and adults are expecting, more immersive entertainment. And so I think Poptropica is just a part of a larger universe of that kind of storytelling.